I baked his favorite pie, but he never came to the door. It was a Tuesday. The kind of day that doesn't ask to be remembered. The sky was gray, not crying, just sighing. Rain had fallen the night before, and the air still held its cool breath. I had the oven on low, just enough to keep the crust warm. The filling, apple, cinnamon, a pinch of nutmeg, a splash of lemon, was the same recipe Robert used to make when he was still here. I'd written it down on a napkin after he passed. He'd never written anything down. Said he cooked by feel. Like love, he'd smile. You don't measure it. You just know. I made 2 pies that morning. One for Daniel. His favorite. He'd loved it since he was 7. I remember him standing on a chair at the counter, flour on his nose, asking if he could lick the spoon. Only if you promise not to tell your father, I'd say. He'd giggle. He's asleep, he'd whisper. And then he'd lick it, slowly, like it was the last thing he'd ever taste. The second pie? For Ben. My grandson. He's 8 now. He likes his with extra vanilla ice cream. He doesn't care about the spices. Just the sweetness. He says it tastes like hugs. I wrapped the first pie in a clean towel. Put it in a tin. Tied a ribbon around it, blue, the color he used to wear when he was little. I didn't write a note. Never do. He knows I'm thinking of him. He always has. I walked to the door. Took a breath. Turned the knob. The house across the street was quiet. No cars in the driveway. No lights on in the kitchen. The porch light, his porch light, was off. I stood there. Holding the pie. For a long time. I didn't knock. I didn't call. I just waited. And then I walked back inside. I set the pie on the counter. Sat down at the table. Looked out the window. At the empty driveway. At the house that used to be full of laughter. I didn't cry. I just felt light. Like something inside me had finally stopped trying to hold on. I used to live right next door. Not just close. Connected. Like roots under the same soil. Daniel moved in with his wife, Lisa, and baby Ben right after they got married. They were young. Too young, maybe. But happy. So happy. I remember the first time I held Ben. He was tiny. Like a little bird. His eyes were wide open, like he was trying to understand the whole world in one glance. I kissed his forehead. And I whispered, "You're safe here." I meant it. I meant it for him. For Daniel. For all of us. We lived on Maple Street. My house, small, white with green shutters, sat right beside theirs. A narrow walkway between them, lined with rose bushes I'd planted the year Robert died. I kept them alive because he loved roses. Said they reminded him of my mother's garden. I'd sit out there in the mornings, sipping tea, watching the light come up. Daniel would walk out in his pajamas, holding Ben in one arm, coffee in the other, and say, "Morning, Mom." Just like that. No, "Good morning." No, "How are you?" Just, "Morning, Mom." And I'd say, "Morning, sweetheart." And that was enough. We didn't need big words. We had pie. We had Sunday dinners. We had him reading Ben bedtime stories while I washed the dishes. He'd read The Very Hungry Caterpillar every night. Same book. Every single night. For a year. I'd stand in the doorway, listening. Ben would giggle when the caterpillar ate the cake. Daniel would whisper, "Shoo, buddy. You'll wake Grandma." But I never minded. I loved hearing it. I'd bake on Sundays. apple pie, blueberry, peach. Sometimes pumpkin, when the weather turned. Daniel always picked the apple. He'd say, "It's the only one that tastes like home." And I'd smile. Because I knew. He meant me. I didn't realize how much I was holding onto until it started slipping. It wasn't sudden. It never is. It started with small things. A missed Sunday. Then two. Then a text, "Mom, we're gonna stay in this weekend. Ben's got a cold." I didn't say anything. Just sent back, "Get well, sweetie. I'll bring soup tomorrow." He didn't reply. I brought the soup anyway. Left it on the porch. With a note, "Love you." I didn't see him for 3 weeks after that. When I finally did, he was standing at the door, holding a coffee cup. He didn't invite me in. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said. "We've just got a lot going on." I nodded. "I get it." He looked tired. Dark circles under his eyes. His shirt was wrinkled. He hadn't shaved. I didn't ask why. I didn't ask about Lisa. I didn't ask about Ben. I just said, "I made apple pie. Thought you might want some." He looked at me. Really looked. And then he said, "Mom, I don't think I want it anymore." I didn't react. I just held the pie tin tighter. "Okay," I said. I turned and walked back home. I didn't cry that night. I just sat in the kitchen. With the pie. And I ate it all. By myself, Lisa. I didn't understand her at first. She was polite. Always smiled. Said thank you when I brought over cookies. Called me Evelyn instead of Mom. Said it was because she didn't want to overstep. I thought maybe she was just shy. Maybe she didn't know how to be family. But then I noticed things. She never asked me to help with Ben. Never asked me to babysit. Never invited me to his birthday parties. I made a cake for his second birthday. A little one, with a truck on top. I wrapped it in cellophane and walked over. Lisa opened the door. She smiled. "Oh, Evelyn. That's so sweet." I said, "I thought we could have a little party. Just us." She paused. Then she said, "We're doing something small. Just the 3 of us." I nodded. "Of course," I said. I went home. I cut the cake into 6 pieces. I ate one. I gave one to the neighbor, Mrs. Ruiz. I put the rest in the freezer. I didn't tell Daniel. I didn't want him to feel caught in the middle. I thought, maybe she didn't know how to let people in. Maybe she was scared. Maybe she'd had a hard childhood. Inside, photos. Not mine. Daniel's. Pictures of him and Marcus. At a beach. Laughing. At a restaurant. Arms around each other. At a concert. Marcus with his head on Daniel's shoulder. And one photo I'll never forget. Daniel, in a tuxedo. Marcus, in a suit. They're holding hands. Standing in front of a small chapel. The date on the back, June 12, 2020. Daniel's wedding day. I sat down on the floor. I didn't cry. I just held the photo. I thought, this is why he stopped coming. I thought, this is why he stopped answering. I thought, this is why Lisa never asked me to help. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know if I should say anything at all. I kept the photo. I didn't show it to him. I didn't tell Lisa. I just waited. and kept baking. I didn't speak to Daniel for 6 months. I didn't call. I didn't text. I didn't leave pie on the porch. I didn't go to Ben's school play. I didn't go to the Christmas party. I didn't go to the hospital when Ben broke his arm. I heard about it from Mrs. Ruiz. He fell off the swing, she said. Lisa called Daniel. He was there. But no one called you. I nodded. Thank you for telling me, I said. I didn't say anything else. I went to the kitchen. Made an apple pie. Sat down. Ate a slice. I didn't cry. I just thought, I've been a mother for 45 years. I've buried my husband. I've held my grandson when he cried. And now, I'm not allowed to be here. I didn't hate them. I just felt invisible. Like I'd been erased. Not by anger. Not by shouting. But by silence. And that was worse. I didn't know how to forgive. I didn't know how to forget. I didn't know if I even wanted to. I kept going to the garden. I planted new rose bushes. I watered them every morning. I talked to them like they were Robert. I don't understand, I'd say. I still love him. I still love them. I just don't know how to be part of it anymore. I didn't expect answers. I just needed to say it out loud. One day, Ben came over. He was 7. He walked right up to the gate. Didn't knock. Just stood there. Holding a small drawing. It was a house. With 3 people. One tall. One short. One small. I recognized the faces. Daniel. Lisa. Me. He looked up at me. Grandma, he said. I knelt down. Yes, sweetheart. He handed me the drawing. I drew you. I smiled. You did? He nodded. And I drew Mommy. And Daddy. I looked at the drawing again. I see. He paused. Then he said, why don't you come to our house anymore? I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to lie. I didn't want to hurt him. So I said, sometimes, grown-ups get confused about how to be together. He frowned. Like when I don't share my toys? I nodded. Kind of like that. He thought for a minute. Then he said, but I always share with you. I hugged him. I held him so tight. I didn't want to let go. He smelled like soap and apples. Like the pie I used to make. I whispered, I know you do, sweetheart. He pulled back. Will you come to my birthday next week? I swallowed. I don't know, Ben. He looked at me. His eyes were so clear. Like he could see right through me. Why not? I didn't answer. I just kissed his forehead. And said, I love you. He didn't say anything else that he just ran back home. I didn't see him again for a year. I didn't know Daniel was going to come. I didn't expect him. It was late October. The leaves had turned. The air was crisp. I was in the kitchen. Rolling out dough. I heard the knock. I didn't move. I didn't answer. I kept rolling. I knew who it was. I could feel him. I could feel the weight of his footsteps on the porch. I heard him sigh. Then he said, quietly, Mom. I didn't turn. I kept rolling. He didn't knock again. He didn't leave. He just stood there. For 10 minutes. Maybe more. I could hear his breath. I could hear the wind. I could hear the clock ticking. Then he said, "I'm sorry." I didn't say anything. He said it again. "I'm sorry." And then, softer, "I miss you." I put the rolling pin down. I wiped my hands. I turned. He was standing in the doorway. Taller than I remembered. His hair was shorter. He looked broken. Not angry. Not guilty. Just tired. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just looked at him. And said, "I know." He stepped inside. He didn't hug me. He didn't sit down. He just stood there. "I didn't know how to tell you," he said. "I didn't know how to explain." I nodded. "I didn't need you to explain." He looked confused. "I didn't need you to justify it," I said. "I just needed you to be honest." He swallowed. "I am honest." "Are you?" He didn't answer. I walked to the counter. To the pie. The one I'd made that morning. Apple. With cinnamon. I took it out of the tin. Put it on the table. "You used to love this," I said. He looked at it. His eyes filled. "I still do," he whispered. "Then why didn't you come?" He didn't answer right away. He looked at the floor. Then he looked at me. "I was afraid," he said. "Afraid of what?" "Afraid you'd hate me." I laughed. Softly. "I've loved you since the day you were born. How could I hate you?" He looked at me like he didn't believe me. "I didn't know how to be the son you wanted," he said. "I didn't know how to be the man he wanted. I didn't know who he was. I didn't ask. I just said, I didn't want a son who was perfect. I wanted a son who was real." He looked at me. And then he cried. Not loud. Just quiet. Like he'd been holding it in for years. I didn't go to him. I didn't touch him. I just stood there. And said, "I made you a pie." He nodded. "I know. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm not asking you to fix anything. I'm just here." He looked at the pie. "I wish I could stay." "I know." He took a step back. "I'll come back," he said. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just said, "I'll be here." He left. I didn't follow him. I didn't call. I didn't text. I just sat down. And ate the pie. Again. By myself. I didn't hear from him for months. I didn't expect to. I kept baking. I kept gardening. I kept talking to Robert. I kept waiting. One day, in early spring, I got a letter. No envelope. Just a folded piece of paper. Slipped under my door. I picked it up. It was from Ben. He'd written it in crayon. It said, "Dear Grandma. I miss your pie. I miss your hugs. I miss your voice. You're still my grandma, even if you don't come to our house. I made you a drawing. It's on the fridge. I love you. Ben." I sat down. I held the paper. I cried. Not because I was sad. But because I realized. He still knew me. He still loved me. He hadn't forgotten. I walked to the fridge. There it was. Another drawing. 3 people. 1 tall. 1 short. 1 small. Me. Daniel. Ben. He'd written underneath. "This is my family." I didn't cry again. I just smiled. And baked another pie. I didn't see Daniel again until last summer. I was in the garden, pruning the roses. I heard the gate creak. I didn't turn. I knew it was him. He walked slowly. Didn't say anything. Just stood beside me. We didn't talk for a long time. Then he said, I didn't know how to say goodbye. I didn't answer. I kept cutting. He said, I thought if I stayed away, you'd forget. I looked at him. I never forgot you. He looked at the roses. I thought if I moved on, you'd be okay. I stopped pruning. I turned to him. I didn't need you to move on. I needed you to be with me. He looked down. I was scared. I was scared you'd think I was broken. I was scared you'd think I chose him over you. I put the shears down. I walked over. I didn't hug him. I just stood beside him. And said, you didn't choose him over me. You chose silence. And silence is the hardest thing to come back from. He didn't say anything. He just cried. Again. Quietly. Like before. I didn't tell him to stop. I didn't say it was okay. I just stood there. And let him be. After a while, he said, I'm sorry. I nodded. I know. I want to come back. I don't know how. I looked at him. I don't need you to come back. I need you to be here. He looked at me. I'm here. I smiled. I know. We didn't hug. We didn't promise anything. We just stood there. In the garden. With the roses. And the sun. And the quiet. I didn't see Marcus again. I heard he moved away. I heard Daniel and Lisa separated. I heard Ben still calls me grandma. I still get drawings. Sometimes they come in the mail. Sometimes they're slipped under the door. One day, I found one in the mailbox. It was a picture of me. Sitting in the kitchen. Baking. With a pie on the counter. And underneath, in his shaky handwriting. My grandma is the best baker in the world. I don't need a dad. I just need you. I held it to my chest. I didn't cry. I just whispered, thank you, Ben. I went to the oven. I pulled out a fresh pie. Apple. Cinnamon. A little lemon. I put it in a tin. I tied a blue ribbon around it. I walked to the door. I didn't knock. I didn't wait. I just left it on the porch. And walked back inside. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Because I knew that he'd come. He always does. I still bake every Sunday. I still make 2 pies. One for Ben. One for me. I don't make one for Daniel anymore. I don't know if he'll ever come. I don't know if he wants to. I don't need to know. I just know this. Love doesn't always stay. But it never really leaves. It lingers. In the smell of cinnamon. In the sound of a child's laugh. In the quiet of a kitchen after the oven turns off. I used to think family meant being together. Now I know. Family means being remembered. Even when you're not there. Even when you're silent. Even when you're gone. Ben remembers me. That's enough. I still talk to Robert. Every morning. I tell him about the roses. About Ben's drawings. About the pie I made. He never answers. But I feel him. In the quiet. In the warmth of the oven. In the way the light falls on the table. I don't need to be fixed. I don't need to be understood. I just need to be here. And to remember that love isn't about holding on. It's about letting go. And still being there. Even when they don't come to the door. Even when they don't say your name. Even when they forget how to say, I love you. You keep saying it. For them. For yourself. For the memory of the child who once licked the spoon. For the man who once called you mom. For the boy who still draws you on the fridge. You keep baking. You keep loving. You keep waiting. Not because you hope they'll come back. But because you know. You were always enough. Even when they forgot. Even when they left. Even when the door stayed closed. You were still here. And that's what love looks like. When it doesn't ask for anything. When it doesn't demand. When it just stays that I don't know what tomorrow will bring. Maybe Daniel will come. Maybe he won't. Maybe Ben will grow up and forget my pie. Maybe he won't. I don't know. But I do know this. I still bake. Every Sunday. And every time I do. I think of him. I think of Robert. I think of Ben. And I whisper, I'm still here. And somehow. That's enough. The rain started again tonight. Soft. Gentle. Like it remembers. I lit a candle. Sat by the window. The pie sat on the counter. Still warm. I didn't eat it. I just sat. And listened. To the rain. To the silence. To the quiet love that never left. And I smiled. Because I know. Some bonds don't need to be fixed. They just need to be remembered. And I remember. I always will. If you're reading this. And you're the one who walked away. Or the one who stayed. Or the one who waited. I want you to know. You are not forgotten. Even if no one says your name. Even if no one knocks. Even if the door stays closed. You are still loved. And you are still enough. Just as you are. Just as you were. Just as you will be. I'm still here. And I always will be.